You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Being contained at this hour. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. You see him host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Everybody to the Gary Harris Show for this Tuesday, September 3, 2024. And we're excited to be here. I'm Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld, you, hopefully a lot of you listening coming off the Labor Day holiday. And a couple of things right off the top. All right. I just looked out the window because I wonder what Barry's doing. Is he out of gas or something, Chase? I don't know what he's doing out there with his. He's out there doing something with his vehicle. And
yeah, must be.
I can't figure out what it is. But a couple of things right off the top. First, I want to thank everybody for allowing me to do this show for 9 years. I started it 2015, the Tuesday after Labor Day. So 9 years ago today, theoretically, and that was my first show, and here we are still going strong. So thank you very much. And I might as well go ahead and get this out of the way because I told you I was going to come back strong this year. SEC point spread predictions, 8-1 in the first week, my friend. The only miss was the Fighting Billy Napiers, as I took Florida plus the 2.5 and missed that one. But I hit Oklahoma minus 42 against Temple. I hit Georgia minus 13.5 against Clemson. I hit Alabama minus 31.5 against Western Kentucky. I hit Notre Dame plus 3 against the Aggies. I hit USC on Sunday night plus 4 against LSU. Both the Notre Dame and USC games, they won them outright. You heard me say it. I told you I'd regret taking Vanderbilt, but I didn't. I didn't regret it. The Commodores plus 13.5 get the win. I took Texas minus the 32 against Colorado State, and I took Kentucky minus the 28 against Southern Mississippi. 8-1. You're doggone right, I'm going to brag. Thank you, Chase. Yeah. There's Barry pulling out now. I guess whatever he did to his vehicle. I'll check in with him later. He's been standing out there by his vehicle for 10 minutes, but he's pulling out, so all is well. But we're going to get into all our sports and phone number and sponsors and all that in just a moment. But what a day I had yesterday, Chase. I have to tell you this. I'm just on a brag fest this morning. Why not go ahead and get it all out of the way? Let me brag some more. Off yesterday, but I did go ahead and go to the Alabama press conferences, and we got that sound for you coming up with Kane Womack, Nick Sheridan, and Kalen DeBoer. But after that, no TV last night. Oh, another brag. I did the news Sunday night. The news, not the sports. Did the news Sunday night on WVUA 23. But then yesterday I decided, you know what? I'm off. I don't really have – I had to go to the TV station and do a little work. I had my friend Robbie Glenn had invited me over to come hang out by the pool, which I would have done if I wasn't going to the press conferences and then having to go to the TV station for a little bit. But as soon as I got done at the TV station, I came home. Well, I went to Who's Q and Brew and got something to eat. Got a little barbecue and got some ribs, some coleslaw, and some baked beans. Then I went home and then I biked 15 miles, which I had some people, I put it on Facebook, like 15 miles. It's really not that far on a bike. I don't know how many of you bike. A couple of people were like, I can't believe you bike 15 miles. It's not on a bike. And I got a pretty good bike. So, I mean, and it's on flat area. So I tracked it, but it's not like it's that, to me, 50 miles on a bike is a lot easier than walking, let's say, 4 or 5 miles. But anyway, I came in, got some nutrition, walked 3 miles, and in between, I got 200 push-ups in. But now, listen, I didn't do 200 at one time. People keep talking about that. I did 8 sets of 25. Or I may actually not. I mean, I think the first set I did 40. Then I did like 20. But anyway, it averaged out to 200. And then I went and hit some golf balls. So pretty full day. And enjoyed it. And now we're back in the swing. And Alabama rolled on Saturday night over Western Kentucky, 63-0. Fun game to be at. Lot happening. All right, let's do some house cleaning here and let you know, first of all, that this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union, your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. Alabama Credit Union. Loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And pull extra change in your pocket. All right, here's the lineup for today. At 9:30, we got the Rocket Man, Rudy Armand. Rodney Orr, of course, since we didn't have a show yesterday, not with us from Tider Insider. He'll be with us tomorrow. Then at 10 o'clock, Casey Smith on golf, who's normally with us on Monday. To kind of recap the PGA Tour season, he'll be with us at 10. Look ahead to the President's Cup. And then at 10:30, our Titans report. Kayla Anderson, we started that last week. They opened the season this week. Kayla Anderson from Nashville will be with us at 10:30 for the Titans report. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Check out beautiful Pinnacle Park, gated townhome community near gorgeous Lake Tuscaloosa. It is something to behold. I mean, it is a incredible little community. Check it out at pinnacleparknr.com. Pinnacleparknr.com. Tell them you heard about it on the Gary Harris Show, and I think they'll probably knock a little money off your lease, too. How about that? Like $100 a month, maybe. So check that out. So we're off and running here on the show. We're going to get to some phone calls. 205-342-9904. As I said, the number on the Pinnacle Park and North River Hotline. Joe and Dothan, you hold tight. We'll get to you here in just a second. But as far as the weekend is concerned, I've been bragging about my picks. And I told you last year I did not have a good year. Last year was probably the worst year I've ever had picking against a point spread. But I'm off to a really good start. 8-1 is 8-1, whether it stands up or not. But as I've said before, it's for entertainment purposes only. I do not bet on sports. I really do not. I wish maybe this weekend that I had. But like I said, entertainment purposes. But if you want to take those picks and do something with them, that's strictly up to you. And we'll be doing them again on Friday. Friday, I'm planning on doing my show live from Innisfree Irish Pub to kind of get the weekend off. Saturday night, we're going to have Alabama versus South Florida and the dedication of Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So just really a big week ahead, and I'm pumped up. All right, let's lead it off this morning with Joe down in Dothan. Hey, Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha.
Gary, you did nail it on your pick. You have every right to brag.
Thanks.
I'll start with the Alabama game. I'm just going to say, I was very pleased. If I had to nitpick, a few more penalties than I would have liked. But listen, first game with a new staff, it's hard to kind of get upset about that. Hopefully that's just, and that they did have the one bad snap that, for the turnover, the one over Milrose's head. Hate to see that after last season, but like I said, first game out the gate. So, I expected a few penalties, maybe some miscommunications. So overall, I was very pleased. A lot of explosive plays. The defense gave up some plays, but didn't allow any points and looked very fast. Our linebackers, man, did they look good. They really, really impressed me. I tell you. But, Gary, as a whole, it's funny. Florida losing didn't surprise me. I thought they had a chance to win that game. If you'll recall, you remember a couple of years ago, Utah went in their preseason top 10, and they pulled the upset.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought something similar might happen. What surprised me was the way they were just pushed around. Dominated.
Manhandled, out-hustled, out-worked, out-hit, out-coached. Just a total fiasco. And then Billy Napier coming out yesterday and taking a shot at the fans. In fact, we may find that clip for you find that clip on YouTube when you get a chance, Chase. Just type in Billy Napier, press conference of Billy Napier. He came out yesterday and basically said, we still got a chance to have a pretty good team as long as we don't listen to those fans in their basement in rural Central Florida. No need for that. But, yeah, listen, it's the beginning of the end for Billy Napier. I think anybody can see it. When you've had all off season, you've revamped your coaching staff. You've talked about, what you were going to be able to do. And then you come out in the first game and lay an egg like that, and the schedule that they have, I just don't see it happening. And when Billy Napier was in Tuscaloosa, he seemed like a tremendous guy. I think he's a good football coach. But I've said this before, Joe, coaching in the SEC or coaching in these Power 5 conferences, Power 4 conferences now, isn't just about coaching football. In fact, I would say coaching, the actual X's and O's of coaching are probably not number one on the list. You've got to be able to run. It's like being a CEO. You've got to be able to run this huge organization, have everybody on the same page in alignment, and it's hard. And I don't know that everybody's meant to do it. And I don't know, Billy Napier had success at Louisiana, but Louisiana is not the University of Florida. And it's just not happening for him. And you're right. That it's one thing to lose, but to get hammered like that by your in-state rival, and then the lack of effort down the stretch. I mean, that team, they checked out a little bit. I mean, their body language and the right offensive tackle on that interception when they were threatening. First of all, he got beat off the edge didn't even get his hand on the guy. And then that allowed caused Mertz to have to hurry the throw. Mertz get it picked off, and then he just walks. The guy's coming right by him on the interception, and he doesn't even make an attempt at him. That just tells you all you need to know about that team. And then I look at Alabama, and I'm watching the wide receivers late in the game when the game's decided, and there was a little quick route out to Kobe Prentice, little wide receiver outside screen, and Emmanuel Henderson's blocking like it's a 3-point game, and Alabama's down with 2 minutes to go, trying to get in position to kick a field goal to either tie or a touchdown to win it. That's the kind of effort you look for, and that's what you saw from Alabama, and you didn't see it from Florida. And it's the tale of two programs. I'm with you. I of course I picked Florida, and that was the only loss. I thought they'd win the game, and yeah. I flat out missed that one. I'll tell you that, because that was.
Well, I'm with you, Gary. I thought I legitimately thought they had a chance. I thought it'd be a close game and they'd have a chance to win. So I was shocked at that. Basically because they were playing at home was the only reason I thought that. But man, was I wrong. But I tell you, Gary, I got to hand it to you too. I can't tell you how many different analysts I heard come on all these different shows. The last week or two when you start looking at some of these games. And almost all of overwhelmingly, they said, "Oh, this Clemson Georgia game, it's going to be closer than you think." Dabo's got a point to prove. He's tired of hearing about his program. He's got an opportunity here to make a statement, and they kept it close for about 2 quarters.
They did,
but that was it. And I tell you, and my last thing, Gary, is Texas A&M. I think we'd all agree that stadium is, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the country. It's very loud. It's very hostile. But I got to tell you, Gary, and this goes back several years now, really ever since they've been in the SEC for the most part. Don't you have to win a big game at home at some point?
I'm glad you
for your
up,
place
Joe.
to be considered one of the toughest places to play.
I'm glad you brought that up, because let me go ahead and say this again. I've said it before, and I've gotten pushback for it. You're right on. First of all, I sniffed that one out, and I did call that one. I thought the wrong team was favored. All right, you brought in Mike Elko. Good for you. I mean, I thought Notre Dame was better going in. I thought they were better during the game. I think they're better now. Well, let me say something about the home field advantage. And I've said this before, and people want to push back. Oh, I've been to these stadiums. Now I have not been to Kyle Field. That's one somehow I've missed, since I just haven't gone out there when Alabama's played. But I've been to just about all the rest of them in the SEC. I've been, I get what people were talking about. Saturday night in Baton Rouge is different. I've been to Jordan-Hare, for the Iron Bowl. I've seen, but more times than not, you're absolutely right, Joe. Home field advantage. Now, all those things that you're talking about, with the atmosphere, but it comes down to how good is your team. In the history of college football, who has the highest winning percentage at home? It's Alabama. Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium has the highest winning percentage of any team in the history of college football, because they're good. And yet, and it's a great atmosphere, but when they list the greatest atmospheres in college football, very rarely does anybody say anything about, oh, it's tough to play Kyle Field. What makes it tough is how good your team is. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. Yeah, it's tough to go into Athens, Georgia right now, because Georgia's good. So, yeah, all that stuff about the 12th man and the rock in the stadium, it means a lot if you've got a team to back it up. I'm with you 100%. And A&M's a pretty good team. Weigman, the quarterback, I was kind of, quite frankly, stunned with how poorly he played. And I didn't watch the game live because I was at the Alabama game for the most part. But But still, I'm not surprised they lost, and I'm with you. Home field advantage or home field atmosphere is great, but you better have a team that's good. And you're right. They don't, they lose at home fairly often, With you, 100%.
They got us, and remember they got us with Johnny Football in that first year in the league in Tuscaloosa.
And that was here,
But they've never beaten us out there.
No,
I'm sorry, they have one time. They did get us in one time. Yeah,
but it's like,
but still, and we should have won that game. I feel like
it's like this. To me, Alabama's one of the toughest places to come play because you got to play Alabama at home, and they're good. So I just thought the wrong team was favored in that one. And another one I sniffed out because when you're hitting them, you feel like, I didn't get it. I said on the air, I think LSU and USC goes down to the wire. So if it's going to go down the wire and be a field goal type game, I'm going to take the team getting the 4 points. And I took USC. And I thought in that game, LSU probably should have won the football game. If you're an LSU fan, you're definitely saying that, but they didn't. And then after the game, talking about another press conference where Brian Kelly slams his fist on the podium, that came across to me. I don't know how you took that, Joe, but I didn't. His body language told me I'm really not. This is fake mad a little bit. I'm gonna do this so my fans know that I'm ticked off.
Yep.
But it didn't come across as genuine. It came across as contrived to me. And
it did.
Peculiar, as good a coach as he is, and he's a solid coach. He's never won a national championship. He's had good teams at Notre Dame. He's got good teams at LSU. I don't know if the term is overrated, but last year, when there are people talking about him like he's Saban. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's gotten more mileage out of that overtime win against us a couple of years ago than just
really
about
has.
any coach I've ever seen.
You know what?
And last thing, Gary, the thing about that LSU game was I was watching the very first series LSU had on offense. He should have taken the 3 points. I'm like, dude, it's the first possession of the ball game. What are you doing? To me, that kind of told me I think he's scared. He's scared. He doesn't trust his defense, even though they played better. I don't see why you don't take 3 points on that first possession unless you don't have any faith at all in your defense.
Yeah, you're dead on this morning. I hate chasing points early in a game. And the other thing about the win over Alabama, you're right. You take that win away, and you can't. He got it. I give it to him. But if he doesn't win that game, they're not in Atlanta, and they're ready to run him out of there right now. That Alabama overtime win at home when he went for 2 has carried him to this point. But they better start winning some games. And I know people now, if you're in LSU, the spin is going to be on, just like it was for Florida State last week. You're going to say, oh, you know what? This one game, it was a neutral side. It was against a really good team. We can still reach our goals, and technically you can. But still, your 0-1's 0-1. And Florida State was singing that too until last night when they got run out of their own stadium by the Fighting Bobs, Bill O'Brien and the Boston College football team went in there and did a number on them. Hey, great stuff, Joe.
Thanks for taking my call, Gary. Great
man. Good call. All right, listen, we got to get to the break. Tom, hold tight. We'll get to you in the next segment. We got Drew DeArmond coming up. Drew just texted me. So this is probably good. Give us a little more time in our next segment. He said he's probably not going to be ready at about 9:35 or a little after. So we had him in for 9:30, but we'll get to him. Tom, you hold tight. We'll get to you next. This is really now it's football season. We know that, but it's really football season because Labor Day's in the rearview mirror.
Coach's Huddle is your insight into your local prep sports program and is brought to you by Venue Tuscaloosa, Arkley GMC, and Legend Energy Drinks.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special.
That's awesome. Taylor Electrical sounds really customer friendly. How can I get in touch with y'all?
Just call or text us at 205-553-0958.
It's electric.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's management dream team.
Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partially sunny today. The chance of a few scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. The high today 89, tonight's low 69. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower or storm in a few spots. The high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
We got to become a more consistent team, and we have to execute better. And if we can focus on those things and not necessarily what some guy in his basement saying in rural Central Florida on social media, then we got a chance to get better, right? So I think that's the key. We got.
Coach. Ouch. Already you're pulling the fans in the basement card. First of all, in Florida, because of the lack of elevation and all the flooding, I don't know that you have, I'm from Florida originally. I don't think you have any basements, so maybe den would be a better, term, but already pulling that card out. Come on, dude, that's weak. And that is not going to endear you to anybody. First of all, if your players are listening to fans, that's a problem. Number one. Number two, those fans are the lifeblood of your program. And I know it can be frustrating for coaches sometimes, but I don't know. I just thought after week one, I'm going to pull out the don't listen to the fans in the basement of their homes in rural Central Florida. Ouch. Because Gainesville, Chase, you ever been to Gainesville?
I have not. I've always wanted to go, though.
Nice college town, no doubt about it. But it is basically surrounded by what he's talking about. You get outside of Gainesville, and it's some cattle farms and some, it's pretty rural. And man, that's just. And we're going to get to the Brian Kelly banging his fist too in a little bit as well. Go and find that one. These coaches, man, I tell you, the pressure's on in the SEC. All right, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park and North River Hotline and welcome in Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Gary, good morning. You know what? If we don't get nothing else, we know you went 8-1.
Well, yeah, you're doggone right. You're going to know it. If you follow me on X and you follow me on Facebook,
started midnight Saturday night on Twitter.
Yeah, if you after the grief I took last year for having a poor year and come back to start out 8-1, I've built up a little. You got to try it. You got to do it every week, and I understand how volatile it is picking games. But like I said before, Tom, you have to admit I don't cherry pick my games. When all you do is look at the SEC and pick them all, that's hard, and it's not like I'm picking 3 or 4 games from around the country. Oh, I love this game. I'm picking all that. Now, people ask me, why didn't I pick Auburn? Because I decided that first week, even though you can find lines on these games against these FCS teams and so many games, I decided I was just going to pick the teams that were playing FBS opponents. So
I called in to throw the replay flag down.
Okay.
There's some inside information going on around there somewhere.
It's just, hey, it's just.
I had to pick at you a little bit. 8-1's good, though, but I wanted to mess with you a little bit. That's all.
Well, you got something else besides that, though, I know.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to say, for all the people that blame Bill O'Brien for our lack of success when he was here as the offensive coordinator, what are they going to say? Did Bill O'Brien pull off a masterful coaching job?
Oh, I thought last night they were clearly, again, and I got DirecTV, so I wasn't able to watch much of it. I got a little bit of it on my phone in between phone calls and text. But from what I saw, clearly outcoached
Mike Norvell. His football team was ready. Physically, they just lined up and knocked him in the mouth, rushed the ball for nearly 300 yards, controlled the clock. It was a beatdown. I mean, it was a and then I saw a lot of people, I say a number of people playing Florida State was gutted because they didn't make the college football playoff. That, they lost there. So get over that. Move on. If anything, you should come out much more motivated the next year. That's over with. Whether you were in the playoff or you weren't. If you're going to be a marquee program, you got to be able to put some seasons together, and you got to be able to overcome adversity. And they're crying about last year now, and they're 0-2, and 0-2 in the ACC, and basically your season is shot. Come on, man. That's not the College Football Playoff Committee's fault. That's on you.
I was glad to see Coach O'Brien have success, because I want to bring this up with Drew's coming on here in a little bit. Drew tweeted something last night, and I agree 100%. He said that it wasn't Bill O'Brien wasn't the problem as offensive coordinator at Alabama. It was the offensive line coach and his incompetence. That is true. And he said, and that you can take this one wherever you want to go, and wild turkey.
Well, I know who he's talking about with wild turkey. But Tom, you've listened to my show. I always thought Bill O'Brien got a bad rap. I thought he was an excellent coach. He led Alabama, helped Alabama have its first ever Heisman winner at quarterback 2 years ago. Those two losses were not on him against LSU and against Tennessee. The offense was fine in those games. So I'm with you. I think he's a good coach, and obviously he's off to a great start at Boston College.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to bring up, because there were a number of people, Alabama fans, did not place the blame properly where it should have went when we averaged 48 points a game under Bill O'Brien as offensive coordinator, which should be way more than enough to win football games at Alabama.
I'm not going to dispute that with you at all. I agree with you, man. I thought that Bill O'Brien did a good job here. I think
you would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think
as far as some of those other hosts on that radio station that I wanted to hear that, and they're supposed to be football people. They don't know where to place the blame on for some of this stuff. And but anyway, I was glad to see that. And but I wanted to bring this up to you and get your point on this. The coach Kelly at LSU. Now, that's 3 years in a row that he's pulled some bonehead calls during the course of the game and ended up getting beat. Now, Barry Sanderson aptly pointed out this morning, when you're in a big game like they were in on national television, nobody else playing but you, and you get down to the 5-yard line and they hold you 3 plays and you're on 4th and goal, kick the blame field goal. Don't let them steal your momentum. And they did that last night, and it hurt them.
Oh, I said the same thing. Don't chase points early in the game. Don't chase points early in the game. Take those points. If they took those points, they probably would have won the game. So, as Joe said earlier, the only thing that's carrying Brian Kelly right now, the only reason they're not ready to run him out of there right now, is that 2 years ago he managed to beat Alabama in overtime and get to Atlanta.
Exactly.
That's it. He has milked that for because that team was okay. It wasn't great, and it's just the reality of it. But he better get turned around sooner. They'll be on him. I mean, that bunch is different down there now. They're just different. I mean, it's just a different deal. So, anyway.
All right.
It's the Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgage,
sweet vinaigrette dressing, and spicy Cajun sauce. And check out our breakfast catering menu. Who's Q and Brew is open 7 days a week. We're located at 1820
125 McFarland Boulevard North in the Northridge Center.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous.
Coach is already feeling the heat after one game. That's what this is all about. In the SEC, it's high stakes, high pressure college football with coaches making tons of money. And when you lose your season opener, and I talked about this just a week or two ago, for some fan bases, the best time of the year is the summer. Because for a lot of fan bases, just a few games into the season, your dreams are already wrecked. Check out Florida State. I mean, they're 0-2 in the ACC, not just 0-2, but 0-2 in their league. And it's different levels of football. You know, it's like if you're – now, Vanderbilt, what a win for the Commodores, okay? And lower tier programs are judged differently. You know, if you're just trying to get to a bowl game, then every game, every week, regardless of the opponent, is big. But when you run in the circles where Alabama runs and Georgia runs and Ole Miss is trying to run now, listen, man, the margin for error is small. It's going to come down to 3 or 4 games and what you do in those 3 or 4 games. 2 years ago, Alabama had a really good football team. They lost to Tennessee on the last play of the game in a game, quite frankly, they should have won in Knoxville. Then they lost to LSU on the last play of the game in overtime. You take away those 2 games, which you can't, but Alabama's in the Final Four and playing for a national championship maybe. But what happened? This season was wrecked. It was a disappointing season, even though they wound up winning the Sugar Bowl and they wound up going 11-2, because the standard at Alabama, that was a disappointing season. The margin for error is not very large with these teams that are vying for SEC championships and college football playoff berths. And for LSU, Brian Kelly knows that was a big, costly loss. Now, they've got the SEC schedule ahead of them. So, like I said, their fan base is now, they're, after being upset, now they're coming to go, we still got it all in front of us. And they do. But your margin for error right now is so slim if you lose that opener. All right, the Rocket Man, Rudy Armand, is with us now. He had a little house cleaning to do up there in Huntsville on another radio show, but he's with us now. Hey, you got the music ready? Go ahead and play it. Can't get Drew on without his Rocket Man intro. Good morning, Drew. How are you?
Good, Gary. How are you?
Well, I've had a little fun this morning. I played the Billy Napier clip from his press conference yesterday where he was like I said, first of all, having originally been from Florida and lived in Florida, you don't have basements in Florida because of the low elevation and the flooding. But he made the comment about if we don't listen to some fan in his basement in rural Central Florida, which is basically his fan base, we're going to be okay. And then Brian Kelly slamming the desk. I thought it was contrived. It didn't seem like real anger to me. It seemed like that kind of fake anger where I'm going to let the fan base know I'm ticked off about this. But hey, that's big boy football, Drew. And when you lose your opener at Florida or LSU, the pressure's on, right?
Well, I mean, it was about as fake as the Southern accent.
Exactly.
To be honest with you, I mean, look, and I thought it was a really good football game. LSU should have won the game. They had a lead. They had a chance to close it out. And I thought Nussmeier played really well. But if he doesn't miss the throw to Aaron Anderson, who, by the way, I've been, pumping Anderson all offseason, that this was a time for him to step up for LSU because he's a very talented kid who just needed to mature. Probably should have stayed at Alabama, but did not. So he's back home in the boot. But he was open. You get him the ball out in space, they may have scored there. Now, SD would have had time on the clock to drive down and try to win it, but I don't know if they would. They probably would have changed the tenor of the game. I thought both defenses looked much better than last year. I thought LSU's just at key times didn't make that stop. They probably still need, and they do, they need more talent. But again, I just thought it was, very glaring that LSU didn't get the ball to Kyron Lacey enough in the second half after he got off to such a great start.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Emory ran the ball really well, and I still think LSU's a pretty good football team. I had to drop them quite a bit in my power rankings, but I still think they have a chance to be a good team. I liked a lot of what I saw. It's just they didn't finish. And we'll see how good SC is. I mean, Lincoln, the last couple of years, especially last year, they were disappointing. We'll see if they're any better now in the Big Ten. And then the two games that really disappointed me, though, from the SEC standpoint, I know A&M lost, but I think Notre Dame is pretty good. Certainly, I had A&M winning that game, but I think they may have a quarterback issue with Connor Wegman. We'll see. But I think the two most disappointing were just Florida was not competitive. Okay, I thought they would have a chance to win it. I even picked them, but they just weren't competitive at all, and that's got to be very eye-opening if you're a Gator fan. And I've always been a fan of Napier's, but they've got to show vast improvement quickly. And then even though they won South Carolina, I mean, the game with Kentucky and Lexington this weekend is going to be big for them because, quite frankly, they could have easily lost to Old Dominion.
Very easily.
Okay?
Probably should have.
And I like Shane Beamer a lot, and their fan base is one of the more patient ones. But if if they look really bad against Kentucky, it's not going to portend well for him as the long-term guy in Columbia. But overall, though, I thought the SEC flexed pretty good. I thought they looked good. I thought Georgia looked outstanding. They're still number one in my power rankings. I thought Alabama, for a first game, I know it wasn't perfect. They had a turnover. They had two other near turnovers. They had some penalties. I still gave them an A+, though, because you scored 63 points who I think is a bowl team. You could have scored 70. And I just really thought overall, offensively and then defensively and then special teams, they looked really, really solid, and especially when you consider you have an injury to your left tackle in pregame that you're totally not prepared for, and then from the standpoint you're not anticipating, and then to have Pritchett step in like he did, and then to have the headsets go out, have by the third play a couple helmets come off. I thought the game management was really good, and I thought they looked like a well-prepared physical football team, Gary.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good summation of the first weekend, and I'm with you on Alabama. The athleticism, the explosiveness, and something else, Drew, I thought that, and it wasn't after the game was decided. It was early in the game. Playing so many guys, I think that, you can't play guys that aren't good enough to play. I get that. But Alabama's got a lot of good players. And by having guys engaged and playing in the game and playing in the first half, Drew and I've talked about this. If you're standing on the sideline and you're not going to play, no matter how hard you try, sometimes it's easy to get disengaged. But when you're going in, you don't have to play 30 or 40 snaps. You play 8-10 snaps. It keeps guys involved. It keeps them feeling like they're part of building the season, and I think it helps when it comes portal time too. And I was really encouraged with how many guys they played in the game, Drew.
No, I mean, especially defensively in the back end, they played so many guys, and they got so many people playing time. They played nearly 3 offensive lines. I really enjoyed the fact that after the game, Kalen DeBoer with his Players of the Week, he also, recognizes walk-ons, and those guys were on the field at the end of the game because they earned it. The one thing I'll say about Nick Saban is, and it's one of the only criticisms I'll have, besides, the one game in his career, the kick six game, I just felt like he didn't trust the quarterback. He should have let AJ win the game. But I think from that point forward, he did make adjustments and change, and he did change with the times. But the one thing that I think he didn't do throughout his career is play enough players. And with the NIL and the transfer portal and the way it is, you got to get guys ready, Gary. You got to get them ready. You got to play them. You got to keep them engaged, because right now, until they pass new rules, you got to re-recruit your entire football team every year. And so you need to develop talent. just in case somebody leaves, you'll have somebody ready to roll. Or, you know, if you get them involved and get them engaged, potentially they won't leave. And so I just think overall, I liked what I saw, the way they managed the game, the way they got so many guys in. And I'll be honest, the secondary is one game. Okay, we're going to see how they play against South Florida this weekend, and then definitely some SEC opponents going forward. But I really liked what I saw from that secondary that they've rebuilt. I mean, I think they flew around. Keon Sabb made you go, Caleb who? I mean, he was unbelievable in his first game. We'll see if that continues, but certainly SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Clay Russaw was just, to me, one of the biggest stories. Just freak athleticism, which you'd already heard about, but understanding what to do, flying around, making a lot of plays. His former high school teammate, James Smith, too. I just felt like overall, watching some of those young guys compete, and then watching Ryan Williams. I mean, I've come on your show. I've come on Ryan Fowler's show. I've been on a lot of people's shows, and I said Ryan Williams was magic, that he would play early and often and make an impact. And he was as advertised, man. He is that good, and he is going to be a force for the rest of his career at the University of Alabama. Hopefully the good Lord blesses him with health, because you saw the 2 times he touched the football, and he scored 2 touchdowns. And honestly, they were talking about other, impact freshmen around college football this weekend. I didn't think he got enough credit. I didn't hear the ESPN talking heads talking about him a lot. But trust me, they will be.
Looking ahead, and again, you said something about Western Kentucky, and I agree with you, being a bowl team potentially, and last year they were a bowl team and they won a bowl game. All these first week games are not equal, and that's not knocking anybody else, but this was not an FCS team from a lower tier FCS league. This is a FBS team that won a bowl game, so, it was pretty good win. And now you've got another team coming in here, a team that we know last year down in Tampa took Alabama down to the wire. And, look ahead to this South Florida game. Alex Golesh, the coach there, he's kind of a, confident, brazen type of guy. And, they're going to come in here feeling like we can play with this team. I think this is a important game for Alabama to make a statement as well coming up on Saturday night, particularly with dedicating Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Well, it is, and then we're going to see how far, Jalen Milroe has come, because he did not play in that game.
That's right.
We all know the situation, but he responded very well. He became the unquestioned leader of the team because of the way he handled himself, not being available for game 2. And certainly Alabama did not play well, but they responded as a group after that and pulled together. And Jalen Milroe, it's been a lot of growth since then. I thought Jalen looked really good, for his first week in the system. I'm sure he's anxious to compete again. And if I were Alabama, I would want to show South Florida how much better I was since a year ago. Now, to Alex Golesh's credit, they played Alabama very tough, and then they weren't predicted to be a bowl team, Gary, but they were, and they won a bowl game. So they won 48-3 over Bethune-Cookman in their first game. They've got a dual threat quarterback. They gave Alabama some problems, but I think Alabama looks forward to the challenge, no doubt about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing this team compete in all 3 phases. I thought Alabama had A grades in all 3, including the kicking game, and I'm anxious to see how it carries over against South Florida and how they compete against the Bulls on Saturday. And, of course, that one of the biggest storylines is going to be Nick Saban and having the field named after him and it being called from this point forward, Saban Field. And I think, and some people are bothered by it. They want his name to be on the stadium. I think it is the perfect honor to name Bryant-Denny Stadium at Nick Saban Field. I think it's perfect because Nick Saban walked that field unlike anybody ever has. Because, again, I know Coach Bryant walked that sideline, but the stadium has changed a lot, and a lot of it is because of Coach Saban. Certainly the upgrades there, the game day environment. He has meant so much to the program. It's never been named after anyone before. I think certainly they already have a statue of Coach. They'll name a street after him, I'm sure, much like they did Bryant Drive. But naming it Nick Saban Field, to me, is the perfect honor for a guy that, just like Coach Bryant, they're the 2 greatest to ever do it. to have Coach Bryant and Dr. Denny's name on the stadium and Nick Saban's on the field. It is, I think, the absolute, perfect way to honor Coach. And it's a trio in Dr. Denny and Coach Bryant and Coach Saban that no other college football program can claim. I just think the thing that Nick Saban's legacy ultimately is he enhanced Alabama's football program to the point where they had this transition under Kalen DeBoer, which I think is going to be seamless, and they have separated themselves as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. There is no other program. Now, Georgia may be top right now, but there is no other program historically that can match up with Alabama, including 1988. Okay? None other. There is nobody in the country that can claim Alabama's history and tradition from the 1920s to now. And I think that's ultimately Nick Saban's legacy, and I'm going to be honored to be there on Saturday night, certainly.
Real quickly, Drew, before we wrap it up, going outside of the SEC, the ACC had a really tough opening weekend. And you got a team in Virginia Tech that some were saying could compete for the championship. They go to Vanderbilt, the SEC cellar dweller, and get beat outright. Clemson gets run out in the second half of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then last night, Florida State at home in what was supposed to be a bounce-back game. Yeah, they lost in Dublin to Georgia Tech, but that was flukish, and Georgia Tech's offense, they'll come home and make a statement. Well, they made a statement, all right. They made a statement that they're not very good, and this still blaming the college football playoff committee from last year, that's tired and old. You better get it fixed in a hurry, or you're going to have a miserable season. But they got manhandled last night physically by Boston College.
They did, and it also proves my point that Bill O'Brien can coach. He got a lot of heat at Alabama, but I think it was unfounded.
I agree.
I think that was more Doug Marrone and Wild Turkey. Everybody knows who Wild Turkey is. I think those were the bigger problems. I know people. I just had somebody on X tell me, well, he called 3 straight runs and inside the 5. Well, if the receiver Jaleel Worthless would run the right route and the right depth, then it's a touchdown. It's not Bill O'Brien's fault that a retard won't run the right route. Okay? And there's a reason that guy's not playing pro football and he's no longer at Alabama. The kid had NFL talent but a 10-cent brain. Tell the truth. Okay? And so is Bill for everybody? No. He does have a personality that can rub people the wrong way. But there's no question he can coach football. He's worked for 2 of the greatest coaches of all time, in Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, and he won games with the Houston Texans. The mistake he made, he took on too much. He shouldn't have been the GM and the head coach, okay? But the guy can coach. There's no question about it. It was a good hire by Boston College. I got to give Brent Key a lot of credit. He beat Florida State, too, and I agree with you. Mike Norvell, I don't think you can win consistently, Gary, going portal heavy for your entire team. Ole Miss is going to be the ultimate litmus test for me because they built their team basically out of the portal. And I want to see if they can do this consistently and if they can get to the playoffs or even have a chance to win a national championship, because I'm of the opinion that you can't have a ton of portal guys and win the whole thing or be a legit contender, because I just think it's very hard to have the kind of chemistry you need. Now, the one advantage they've got is they've had Jackson Dart for 3 years. But again, I question, having to build your team out of the transfer portal. It's why I think Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, they're the 3 best teams, because I know Ohio State got some big names out of the portal, but the majority of their team is still homegrown. It's been recruited and developed, and I still think that's how you win ultimately. But on the other side of the coin, a guy like Dabo Swinney, you still have to add some pieces in the portal, man. You have to use all your resources, because I think Dabo's recruiting has flipped in the last 5 years, and that's why Clemson is still a good team, but they're not an elite team.
Drew bringing it this morning, hot and heavy. Follow him on Twitter. Drew, give him the handle and tell them the other mediums in which they can track you.
Yeah, certainly. They can connect with me at Drew D 977 ESPN on X. Also, our station 977 ESPN, and also if you missed any of our Talking Ball show from 7 to 9 a.m., we're on. You can go on our SoundCloud page, 977thezone.com, or ESPN 977 on our website, 977ESPN.com, I should say, and catch any of our content. But we always enjoy joining the Gary Harris Show each Tuesday, and we hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. And hope you enjoy the football going forward. It's a great time of year right now.
All right. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate you. All right. We're going to take a break and come back and wrap up this first hour very quickly right after this.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Hey, Roll Tide, this is Ryan Fowler from The Game. We'll be back on Tuesday. We're not going to be laboring on Labor Day. We're going to recap Alabama and Western Kentucky. We'll take your reaction with a great guest lineup, all starting at 2 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, right here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure.
And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partially sunny today. The chance of a few scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. The high today 89. Tonight's low 69. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower or storm in a few spots. The high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, we got to get on out of here. We're a little bit over, but that's okay. We'll come back with hour number 2. We'll start it off with Casey Smith on golf, the Gary Harris Show, on this Tuesday, September 3, 2024. We'll continue.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
News from the NFL, where ESPN's Adam Schefter is reporting that 11-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle Trent Williams and the San Francisco 49ers are reportedly close to a new contract, which would end his holdout. Top 25 college football, Boston College wins at number 10 Florida State 28-13. Golden Eagles quarterback Thomas Castellanos had 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing in the win. Seminoles are now 0-2 to start the season. Baseball games of note, Yankees beat the Rangers 8-4. New York still a half game up on Baltimore for first in the AL East as the Orioles rolled over the White Sox 13-3. Guardians beat the Royals 4-2. Cleveland has a 3.5 game lead on Minnesota, now 4.5 up on Kansas City for the top spot in the AL Central. Twins kept pace with a 5-4 win over the Rays. Dodgers defeat the Diamondbacks 11-6. LA's lead in the NL
280 in Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
If you are a subscriber to DirecTV or UVerse, you may not be able to watch Alabama's home game with South Florida Saturday due to a contract dispute between the two providers and the Disney company. That means you cannot watch any of the ESPN networks or the SEC net. Scattered showers over the holiday weekend did nothing to reduce wildfires. Some 50 are burning across the state, including 2 each in Fayette, Pickens, and Walker counties, and a 110-acre blaze in eastern Bibb. Georgia remains number 1 of the AP poll, Alabama 5th.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2. Went over a little bit in hour number 1, but that's okay. We wanted to get everybody in, and we had a jam-packed first hour, and we're going to keep it rolling right now with Casey Smith on golf, usually with us on Monday, but since we didn't have a show yesterday, Casey is joining us today to kind of put a bow on this PGA Tour season, look ahead to the President's Cup, look ahead to the fall season, and a lot of stuff going on in golf. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning, Gary. Hope you're doing well and had a great weekend.
I did, man. I really did. And Scotty Scheffler did. This was really more like a coronation than anything else. One of the, again, it's up there with Tiger and Jack. It's one of the best seasons we've ever seen in the history of the PGA Tour. And, again, I'll get into the scoring in a moment, but when you let him start 2 shots clear of the field, and most of those guys even further back than that, as far back as Justin Thomas, who was 10 back, and he just plays his normal game, he's going to win the golf tournament. I'm not a fan of the scoring. I want to hold that up for a moment, but let's just go ahead and talk about Scotty Scheffler and what he accomplished, and he caps it off with the Tour Championship and a $25 million first-place prize. I think his caddy, Ted Scott, may be in the top 20 on the money list, too.
Yeah, I mean, what a year. Congrats to Scotty Scheffler, one of the best guys out there, if not, a lot of people say best human out there. He is, man, what a fantastic golfer, winning again for the 10 wins, and 8 wins and 20 starts. An unbelievable year. 17 top 10s, won his second Masters, won his second Players, a gold medal, FedEx Cup. Every week at the World was the world number 1. He was 3 strokes better in the strokes gained category, plus 3 strokes, which is insane. $62.28 million, became a dad, and it wasn't like he just won some, average tournaments. He won the Arnold Palmer, he won the Players, won the Masters, won the RBC. Then had a newborn baby, then was arrested, and obviously it was a farce. Won the Memorial, won the Travelers, won the Tour Championship. And these are really big events. This is the best season statistically ever in the history of golf.
Jeez.
All-time lowest scoring average of 68.01 in the season that we always hear about as Tiger Woods' 2000 season, when most people think, even in Jack Nicklaus's best years, that was the best year for any golfer ever. And so he beat him by 0.16 shots. Tiger Woods' average was 68.17. Some could say the fields, whatever, but the fields were definitely, it is what it is. I mean, he went and beat the best players in the world who are all capable of winning and Ted Scott, his caddy, I hear he's got a flat 10% rate. Some of them are, some of them are like 5, 7, 10, depending on where they finish. He won $6.28 million this year. So, pretty wild where that, stacks up, and it's going to be top 20. The caddy finished in the top 20. That'll tell you that he had a great season. I'm blown away at the season he had. And then, I really don't see, if you go back to his junior, golf, he just won a lot then. He didn't win quite. He was hurt a little bit in college, and his dad, as you might have heard, they interviewed him over the weekend, and he thought he would be a great PGA Tour golfer. He was so worried about him getting through the Korn Ferry Tour because it takes so many birdies, and you have to really play a different game. It's just very aggressive golf. And he's like, I knew if he could just get through that. Well, obviously he did. So what's next for him? I don't know. I mean, I think he's just such a consistent ho-hum guy. He's back to work. I mean, he drives his car. He still drove in college. He's just a regular guy. And I think his whole support system helps keep him humble. So I will not be surprised if he continues to play great golf. He drives it great. He hits his eye. He hits it. Justin Thomas said he's as good of a driver as there is out there. And everybody raves about him being the best iron player in golf. His chipping is as good as anyone's out there, especially under pressure. And, I mean, he hits it. His putting is what everyone's looked at. But, since he switched back to that mallet putter, I mean, he's been pretty dominant.
I guess the thing when you watch him play, is and you laid it out beautifully, Casey, the season that he's had, but you hear the term grinding and good players grinding, and it looks like a struggle, even when they're scoring well. And I get that. I mean, it's a hard game, and that's usually a compliment when you say a guy's a grinder. He doesn't really grind. I mean, it just looks easy. It's got to be so much pressure on those other players. I guess, similar to Tiger, similar to Jack, when he's in the field, and he just, goes about it. It's just easy watching him play golf. I mean, you're hustling to get it up and down, and he makes a couple bogeys, and then he comes back and he hits it in there 3 feet. He just stuffs it in there and goes on a birdie run against you. I mean, it's phenomenal, Casey. It's not supposed to be this easy, right?
Well, what I think throws all the players off is, you hear them say every time he gives them a window that they can come back and make a run, he birdies the next hole. And I've heard that like 6 times this year from the top players. Like, man, he really just kills everyone's momentum and restarts his momentum. He goes right out. He's had a bad hole. He's ripped off the rearview mirror, and he's coming right back with a birdie. You can almost bet if he ever makes a bogey, he's birdieing the next hole. So his demeanor is what it is. He doesn't look like he's grinding. I'm sure on the inside he's definitely grinding, but he's learned to control his emotions, and it is a huge advantage in golf if you can do that. And, you didn't see Tiger Woods. You could see him laser focused, and that's why he was so good. He had his emotions, wore his emotions on his sleeve a little bit on good shots, and sometimes bad. Scotty's just middle of the road, middle of the fairway, middle of the green. It is not erratic golf, and he doesn't have an erratic personality. So, he's, to me, it looks like, and he throws darts from every angle and everywhere.
Yeah.
His ball doesn't leave the pin. I mean, it really just, when he gets going and he wants to fire at pins, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Like watching PlayStation golf.
100%. It doesn't, this pin's tucked. You can't go at this pin. Scotty says, watch me. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's just everything it's got to be driving the analyst crazy, in the rough, you're going to have to. No, he's just not listening to you. It's like someone, when Tiger was in his heyday.
So many fairways, too. I do think hearing those players talk about that, like everyone raves about, his iron play, but he hits it so straight, and they're like, he'll miss 2 fairways. And when he's hitting it 300 and, 10, 15 yards, and he's down the middle, the guy's the best iron player in golf right now, and now statistically one of the best ever. So he throws, it looks like lasers. Like it's the shot tracer never curves. It goes straight towards the pin.
Well, let's get to some other players, and let's get to
I'll say one thing for golfers out there. The most important thing I think that he does, the advantage he has over everyone in golf is he knows exactly how far his ball goes. And when you ask guys at that level, if you really want to improve, know how far your ball goes. And he can call it as soon as he hits it. I watched him do like a run of 50 shots on a TrackMan where he called the distance. So if you know how far it's going, you know how far to hit it, right?
Exactly, and that's even for amateur, even for me. I was still, I went and hit some balls yesterday, and a guy next to me, we were talking, and I flushed one, and he said, "Man, live," and I was hitting 9 irons, and I said, "Yeah, if I can do that every time." The problem with me when I'm playing golf is I can't count on that, so I don't know. I can hit. There's a 20-yard swing there, but that's enough about that. Let's get to the scoring system for the Tour Championship. I'm still not a fan. I just don't get it. I mean, I understand that he's the number 1 player and he's earned that. But, in the Super Bowl, they don't say, well, the team with the best record starts out 7-0. I still am not a fan of letting a guy start out at 10 under par, then a guy start out at 8 under par, all the way down to even par. It's just, I don't like it. And I don't know, would Scheffler have won otherwise, but because you had Theegala, of course, took that 2-stroke penalty. He had a really low score. But what are your thoughts on staggering the scores like that?
Yeah, I think it's hokey. The other option is really to just pay the guys for what happens. It means the regular season, and then make the Tour Championship. Maybe split it up. Tour Championship's worth a little bit more, and they all start even, or something. I don't think there can be. I just don't think it's cool.
I don't like it. Yeah.
It just seems Mickey Mouse. Guys at the back, they're playing. I know they're saying, well, they're playing for piles of money.
Yeah, but they have no chance to win. Yeah, they have no chance to win.
They want to. They're play. They all year you're preaching they want to play to win, and you get there, and then it's all about the money. I think it just cheapens the product. I agree. I mean, look, Saius Segalia takes the 2-stroke penalty for brushing the sand, called it on himself. It was not even. It was
nobody would ever know. And that's one time I think you let you good for him. But I mean, I'm telling you what, I'm letting that go. I mean, I don't know.
The camera wasn't even going to call it because they couldn't see it. He lost $2.5 billion in that shot.
He said he slept well. I'd have not slept. But anyway, good for him. All right, let's get to JT because Wimp and Barry were talking about it this morning with one of our callers and Tom, who is listening to this show right now and loves your segment. You know, he said that JT struggled a little bit, but here's the thing. He was saying, you know, it was all in all, it was a good year, and it was all in all a good year. But I'm not gauging JT against average. We're gauging him, unfortunately, against, you know, I don't know if you can gauge anybody against Scotty Scheffler, but we're gauging him against the top tier. And now he's more than 2 years without a win. And I know it's driving him nuts. Did he make some progress? Yeah. Did he make the Tour Championship? Yeah. Did he have a good Tour Championship event? Absolutely. Started 30th, finished 14th. But what does he got to do? Because, you know, he wants to win. What does he got to do? Where does he need to make corrections so that he can win next year?
Well, I would say that he's got to start with it's the off-season putting system for him. It's getting his confidence back on the green so he can, you know, I think he's getting back to where he's hitting it really well, hitting it up when you watch to be as competitive. And, you know, if you're going to play against guys like Scotty Scheffler that are bringing it every week, and you can, I mean, self-admitted from Justin Thomas, he made a lot of bogeys this year, and he made a lot of bogeys. I mean, look, final round at East Lake, he made 8 birdies, right? He made 2 bogeys. And, you know, you look and see the difference of those guys up top. They're not making as many bogeys per tournament. He made 6, right, for the Tour Championship. That would get him at minus 20, still not enough. But if he could just cut his bogeys in half, and a lot of that comes from re-putting, you know, more times than not, re-putting, or hits a shot and he doesn't make that get up and down, right? He didn't make that comeback putt that is so crucial. So I think it's just really getting his confidence back with putting. It seems like to me going forward, he's still going to win. I think you're going to see him win some, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if he wins another major, even at where he's at now, because he's capable of having such a great week. It's just the consistency to go out there, and I just don't see Scotty Scheffler coming back too much. I don't see, and the guys that are coming behind him, I mean, look, we talked about it last week, the Dunlaps and O'Bears and stuff like that, they're playing great golf. I'm shocked sort of that given the guys out there, how many of them change, that he hasn't looked into some type of a change to something a little bit more radical, you know, that's probably a lot more sound. I mean, look what Bryson does, and look what Keegan does, and look what revived Lucas Glover last year, and Adam Scott, you know, changed as that model. I just don't know what. There's so many things out there, and there's not been any really changed except from a same putter style to a blade back to that same putter style.
Yeah.
Everything else looks the same.
At least he went away from that stupid, what do they call it, where they straddle the ball and do all that stuff.
Yeah. He got rid of that quickly.
Yeah. Hey, all right, let's look ahead to the President's Cup because I'm getting short on time here. I love it, but it you know, obviously it lags behind the Ryder Cup. Certainly so. It's a much newer event. It's U.S. versus international. It needs a shot in the arm. I don't think JT's going to make it. I like Jim Furyk. I think he'll be a good captain. I don't think he's going to pick JT. I think he should pick Nick Dunlap because I think this event needs a shot in the arm. I think Nick Dunlap would give it that. What do you think?
I agree, and I wish he would. I can see, you know, with it being Jim Furyk, old guy.
Yeah.
They didn't really flip from when they've moved this to Keegan, and they're going to try to do that with Moore. I mean, right now, Scotty Scheffler, Xander, Colin Morikawa, Wyndham, Cantlay, and Sahis are the top 6 locked in. The 6 captains' picks, if you went in order, it'd be Sam Burns, Finau, Henley, Keegan, Brian Harman, Max Homa, Chris Kirk, Akshay, and Eric Cole. because they don't give Dunlap that credit for that other win. In the standings, he would be in the top 15. So I hope that is the eye opener that gets him. I don't see him picking JT. They caught so much grief about that last year, and he didn't perform. But I mean, I know you're going to get Sam Burns. I know you're going to get Tony Fennell. I know you're going to get Keegan Bradley. That's 3, and probably Max Homa is 4. You know, he may take all chalk and everyone else is left out. I just don't. I wish he would take Nick Dunlap. My gut would say probably not. I agree with you completely.
Casey, great stuff, man. We're out of time. We'll ask about this fall wraparound season next week and how it works, and some players that'll be looking to make some hay that are maybe players that, you know, they're not at that elite level, and this is a great opportunity for them. We'll get into that next week, okay?
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Thanks, Casey. All right, 10:20, Gary Harris Show. Reminder, the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, no joining fee now until the end of September. That's a great savings right there. Also, 10% off all your personal training packages at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street, downtown. We'll be back with more. We're open for phone calls in the next segment. Also, if we don't get calls, we're going to get into a little bit of this Kalen DeBoer audio from his press conference yesterday. The Gary Harris Show rolls on from Tuscaloosa right after this.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Wednesday, 7:30. The great Max Howell will join us. We'll look at the SEC games with Max. Also in the second hour, we'll have Bill Cameron. We'll find out what's going on with the Auburn Tigers as they get ready to host California. Plus, we'll take your
Coach's Huddle is your insight into your local prep sports program and is brought to you by Venue Tuscaloosa, Barkley GMC, and Legend Energy Drinks.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after.
Feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship.
Touchdown, Alabama!
On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:24. Welcome back in. We're going to get a couple phone calls, some app messages. Taylor tweeted in at 9:45. Is there something going on with the broadcast? I think we've been on fine, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, no doubt about that. And also, Tom teaching revisionist history. Also, Bill O'Brien having a good head coaching performance last night does not change what happened while he was at Alabama. I completely disagree. He did a good job as head coach at Penn State. Also, that was it for my show this morning. But we love those app messages, and I am trying to check them more frequently. Okay, let's see. We've got RV, and then we'll get to Bryce in this segment on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Good morning, RV.
Hey, Gary, how are you, my friend?
Doing well.
I guess we got a new nickname for you. It'd be Gary the Greek. Gary the Greek.
Well, now, of course, I've taken this victory lap, and now the pressure's on because everybody's keeping score, and they're going to there'll be more people wanting to listen to my picks because I went 8-1, and I need to follow it up with another good week. So it'll be a little bit of heat. Hey, listen, like I said, I do it for fun. I don't gamble on college football, so I can live with it either way. But it is fun to know how many people spend a lot of time on handicapping these games, and I literally write them down on a piece of paper while I'm doing my show, and I went 8-1. That's pretty cool.
That is good. A couple of things I had on my mind. One was, how fortunate is Alabama that Ty Simpson didn't jump ship and has hung in here at Alabama. I mean, he would be starting at so many schools around the country right now. And just look at the boy. Was it Holston that left and went to Pittsburgh, and
had a really good game for Pitt. Yeah, they've recruited some quarterbacks
Alabama's
here.
Fortunate.
Yeah. Well, they are, Bryce, but I'll tell you this, too. I think it's smart. I think that's, his dad's a football coach. You start this jumping around stuff, and it can also bite you in the rear end too. And here's the deal. You have a little patience. You're learning from really good coaches now, particularly with this offensive system. And all you really need is 1 year as a starter at one of these schools. And, if you're happy somewhere, I agree with you, RV, from the standpoint, good for him. At the same time, or good for Alabama, good for him, because he's in a good situation, and he knows that, and he's got the maturity and a family that says, hey, chasing a starting job somewhere else may not be all it's cracked up to be. You're learning, you're going to get to play. Milrose going to the NFL draft after this season, and next year you're in line to be the starter. So I like that type of thinking. I wish more players would apply it, and I hope you'll see as we go further with the portal that more players will think that way. I've been here a year and I didn't play, I'm leaving. That's stupid talk, Yeah.
Well, another thing that I wanted to mention was it was exciting to see how many different receivers Alabama threw the football to on Saturday. I mean, the ball was all over the field. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it, man. I'm really excited after that first game because Alabama showed explosiveness, athleticism on both sides of the ball, but there were enough miscues and mistakes that they've got a lot to work on. The ceiling for this team, everybody talks about what's the ceiling, what's the floor. Well, the ceiling for this team's a national championship. No doubt in my mind about that. If they play the football they're capable of playing, they can win it all. And the floor for me is now the college football playoff. I think if this team's not in the college football playoff, it is a really big disappointment. This is a good football team.
Yeah, they showed some depth, and I love seeing all those running backs. And as we've already talked about this morning, those younger players getting in some playing time already this early in the season. That's been great.
All right, thank you, RV.
All right, man.
All right, we're going to squeeze in Bryce here real quick before we hit the break. Bryce, we're up against the clock, but we've got a couple minutes, my friend. Go ahead.
Two things. Are we going to have a Caleb DeBoer show?
Yeah, you do already. He's got his game recap show that just like Nick Saban did when he sits down with Chris Stewart and they look at the video. That runs, I know we run it tonight on WVUA 23 at 6:30 and at 10:30. It also, you can probably find it online. And then the Hey Coach show, which is and then the Kalen DeBoer radio call-in show is Wednesday nights. And he moved it up from Thursday night to Wednesday nights. But yeah, he's doing both of those.
Well, in my area is Fox 54 out of Huntsville.
Okay.
It wasn't on this past Sunday.
Well, check with the TV stations up there because he did a show. So whether or not they ran it, I don't know why they wouldn't or who's got it up there, but he is doing the Kalen DeBoer show. Yes, every week.
And one other thing, the guy that transferred from Alabama, Julian, didn't play Saturday.
That's right.
What's the status on him? Is he hurt or he just ain't made the cut?
Well, he's true freshman. He's not the starting quarterback. And, he ain't
the backup neither.
Well, I mean, he's a true freshman, man. I mean, he probably wouldn't have been the backup here. I mean, so I don't know what to say other than I guess he's going to have to wait his time.
Okay, well, I was just curious that he's hurt because they thought he was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread to come to Alabama.
Well,
okay.
he may.
That's the reason why I was asking.
Okay, well, he may still be, but I don't think he would have been starting here at Alabama either. So it is what it is.
Right. Okay. Well, I just wanted to, because everybody was just raving about him. Cowboy and them thought he was like the next coming,
Well, he may still very well be a good player.
I think we got a better deal. I think we got a guy that was shorter than Bryce Young for a 6'6" guy that's already been in the system 1 year.
Yeah, I think Alabama's fine at quarterback. I think they got one of the better quarterback rooms in the country. Hey, appreciate it, Bryce. Got to run.
To serve our clients. Purchase tickets before they sell out at ESWAChampionsball.com. That's ESWAChampionsball.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partially sunny today. The chance of a few scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. The high today 89. Tonight's low 69. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower or storm in a few spots. The high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
if the person that sent me that message would message me back and let me know what's going on. Are you hearing me out there on the air? Is there got a million things going on here. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get to a break. We got one more segment to go. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on with the station. And, we got somebody bringing me a check for advertising, all this going on at the same time. And let's get to a break and see if we can figure out what's going on. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM, WTBC, and you're home for Alabama Sports. Let's see if we can figure out what's happening. We'll be back.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Hey, Roll Tide, this is Ryan Fowler from The Game. We'll be back on Tuesday. We're not going to be laboring on Labor Day. We're going to recap Alabama and Western Kentucky. We'll take your reaction with a great guest lineup, all starting at 2 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, right here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa.
Hudson Pool Fine Jewelers is an ideal gift for any student, alum, or fan.
See the collection at Hudson Pool Fine Jewelers, Greensboro Avenue, downtown Tuscaloosa, or at hudsonpool.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Everwood, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Everwood, wood treated right. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On Tuesday's edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we'll be joined by Crimson Tide football radio voice Chris Stewart.
They were impressive offensively doing it. I think that is something that the Tide fans were excited to see once again, is the explosiveness that we saw many times over the last decade, especially for Alabama offense. You know, the teams had big play capability in Coach Saban's first half of his tenure, but it was more of just wearing you out. And we always talk about imposing their will. Normally you think of that on the defensive side, but Bama's offense did that for much of his tenure. The last few years, it didn't quite look the same. You had the explosiveness, which was great, but you didn't have as much consistency the last 2 to 3 years.
I'll have more in a moment.
Producing championship quality lumber is not an easy process, but at Everwood Preserving, it's our only process. Wood treated right. Everwood offers top-notch pressure-treated wood for decks, outdoor structures, commercial jobs, and more that you can build your reputation on. When it comes to quality, we're on the winning team. Visit your local Everwood dealer today and discover the difference for yourself. Everwood Preserving Incorporated, the official lumber of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
If you missed last night's edition of Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, catch it on demand on the Alabama Insider Podcast, as well as a video replay on the CTSN YouTube page. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Everwood. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partially sunny today. The chance of a few scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. The high today 89, tonight's low 69. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. The chance of a shower or storm in a few spots. The high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:44. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and thanks for the feedback. I don't know what happened. Chase doesn't know what happened, but for some reason we bumped off the air there for a couple of minutes, and I've gotten like 7 or 8 messages, so I know that we were off for a couple of minutes there, and I hate it, and I apologize to Kayla Anderson, and apologize to you, but thanks for hanging in there with me. Should be back loud and clear now, so we're good to go. Again, I don't know what happened. Chase doesn't know what happened, but it's one of those. We thought it was a phone gremlin, but I guess it was a radio gremlin that got us there for a moment. All right, let's. Do we have a phone call? All right, let's get to this call, and before we get to Kalen DeBoer, let's get to Ellis. I know Ellis was here this weekend, and I did not get a chance to see him, but good morning, Ellis.
Roll Tide, Gary Harris.
Yeah, man, good to have you. I don't know what was happening with our system there for a second, but we're back and ready to go now.
Well, Drew DeArmond and them had trouble last week, and it was the whole week. Their streaming service was out.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah, it was down about the whole week last week.
Well, did you have a big time in T-Town?
Oh, I had an awesome time.
Did you avoid getting soaked on Saturday?
Yeah, I got soaked, and everybody else did, and about lost my voice. So it's all good.
I hear you. What'd you think? What'd you think about the Tide?
I think they look good. I was worried about the penalties until Martin Houston said what he did this morning.
What did Martin say?
Well, because they had their headsets, so they had to do without the headset.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to look to the sidelines to get to play, so it was probably a lot of confusion going on because I already had the headsets in ready to use.
What happened was there was an issue on the Western Kentucky sideline with the headsets, and if they have issues, you can't wear yours. But what I was told in the press box, it was actually an issue with Western Kentucky, that the feed was fine. They hadn't upgraded their or updated their system or something. But in the meantime, Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator, is in the press box. Well, he's got to come down if he can't have radio contact. So Alabama was not happy at all. But you know what? They handled it, and they adjusted, and they overcame adversity, and eventually they got the headset situation cleared up, and they were able to get back in the press box and go on to 63-0 win.
So that's why I'm not worried about the penalties we had. It was all in the first, right in there, and then it all calmed down after that. So, I'm just excited. I wish we could have got that one more point that would have made the most points scored in for a first-time coach at Alabama in history there, I think. I might be wrong.
It absolutely was. And, 63-0 in your first game, that's the best debut in the history of a head coach for Alabama football. Certainly the way to start the season. And now you got to follow it up with, and I think Western Kentucky's not a terrible team, but I think the South Florida's a better team. So get a tougher challenge Saturday, and then you head out on the road to Wisconsin in week 3. So we're going to know a lot about this team by the time they get to the bye before Georgia. I do believe that.
Yes, and one more thing, I know you got to go. I wish they'd put signs up that says one-way street.
What's that again now?
I wish they'd put signs up down there on the university on them sides.
I live here, so I guess I'm used to it. But I know a lot of people, when they come into town, I'll run. They'll be going down the wrong way on a one-way, and I'm like, what are you doing? But it can be quite confusing. I agree with you, Ellis.
I got cussed out, and the middle finger shot at me several times.
Lord.
They were those signs,
I know. It's tricky around campus. I'll cut you some slack there, my friend.
But I know it pretty good, but I just, it's just certain streets. But them streets, it just didn't have no signs. But looking forward to this weekend. I hope we can turn around and play better this time against them, and I think we can. I think we're really going to show. I think we're going to show out this weekend and show that team who we really are.
All right, bro. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide, Gary Harris.
Roll Tide, Ellis. All right, let's keep it going. And again, I apologize. It's nothing that Chaser or I did. I don't know what happened. I know we lost our air signal for a little bit, but we're back going down. Dawsey's with us up in South Carolina. Hey, Dawsey, good morning.
Hey, Gary. A lot of times I call you to vent or whatever, and so I want to vent a little bit and then give you some good news, hopefully. I don't know how much you've heard of this morning, but I'm glad the guys that left us for Florida State are gone, because they're contributing nothing to Florida State right now. Nothing. Roydale Williams looks like he doesn't want to be there, and the other guys have penalties and bad mistakes. So, not that I want to see them unhappy, but I'm glad they're gone. Secondly, I really like our fans, and I think they're very knowledgeable. And I think I'm glad Bill O'Brien is somewhere else. But I'm going to tell you what, Gary, that the man is competent. he can coach now. That was
he's
an
a good.
upset.
He's a good coach. I don't know what happened here. I guess fans got frustrated that that with the losses 2 years ago to Tennessee and LSU. Although the offense I thought was fine in both those games, but somehow once they get you tagged with something, they won't let up. And they, the popular opinion was that he was awful, and that's just. But he's a good football coach. He's been a good football coach really his whole career, and he'll do a good. He did a great job at Penn State. I thought he did overall a good job with the Houston Texans, and I thought he did a good job at Alabama, and he'll do a good job at Boston College. So I'm with you.
I think he has a mentality maybe more suited to the NFL than college. But I'm with you. He pulled Penn State out of their darkest period.
He sure did.
I think. And Houston was a dysfunctional organization when he was there. And I thought he did a good job at Alabama, too. I think he's a very good coach. I'm with you. And it tickles me how our fans just will not let up on him. But anyway, moving on, I was really pleased with the opener. The only concern I had was, a little bit, if you want to nitpick, the offensive line. Looks like there's still some moving pieces and some work to be done there. But I didn't get to listen to your show this morning, but I was really encouraged with what I saw. And, I think we're going to find out a lot more in 2 weeks, but really encouraged and just kind of wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Dawsey. I echo everything you say and what other callers have said this morning. I'm very excited about this team. I think that I watched Saturday night from the press box, and I saw the speed, I saw the athleticism, I saw the depth, I saw the explosiveness, and I saw a team that, in my opinion, is going to get a lot better. And let me say this, too. I'm really, really happy the defense got a shutout, because even though I picked Alabama to cover, I picked them to win the game 52-20. I thought Western Kentucky would get some points. Not that the game would ever be in doubt, but I thought they, and they had some chances there in the first half to get some points, but they didn't. And when you get a shutout in today's game of college football against an FBS opponent. This was not an FCS opponent. This was a team picked to finish second in their league that won a bowl game last year. That's quite an accomplishment. So I want to give kudos to the defense. But, yeah, I think the ceiling for this team is the national championship. I think this team is good enough to win the national championship. I think the floor is the college football playoff. So I think this team is going to be in the college football playoff. I think you can win a national championship. I think anything short of that would be very, very disappointing, because I think this is a top, 5 team in the country. I really do. And I think they're going to prove that out. And I think they're going to get better and better. I think the team that you watch Saturday won't be the same team you're watching 3 or 4 weeks from now. And hopefully, you win these first 3 and you get to the bye and you come out and play your best game of the season to that point against Georgia. And if you were to beat Georgia, then obviously then you're on, you might move up to even number 1 in the country if you win that game. If you're 4-0 with a win over Georgia, the only team that seems to be able to beat Georgia is Alabama. Then all of a sudden your profile is raised and you're viewed completely different. But I think this team is good enough. I think they've got enough talent. I think the coaching is outstanding. I think the depth, I love the fact that they played so many players. Yeah, after one game, I said all along through the summer, all you can do is gauge Kalen DeBoer to this point. He hit a home run in the spring. He hit a home run in the offseason, and now he's hit a home run in his first game of the year. But you got to do it every week. And, that starts with Saturday night against South Florida. But, yeah, I like what I saw. I'm very encouraged, very fun brand of football, and want to see what this team can do. I think they have a chance to win it all.
Yeah, real quick, I know you got to go. I was really pleased with the tackling. A lot of times tackling early in the year is an issue. And then secondly, rotating so many guys on defense, a lot more depth there than I realized. So that's encouraging too. Absolutely. And, I picked Alabama in my SEC media poll to win the SEC, and I'm going to stand by that. Thanks, Doss. Okay, thank you. Good to hear from you. Good phone call. All right, we did not get to any of our press conference sound from Kalen DeBoer or the coordinators, but I'm sure other shows will run some of that. And again, had a lot of fun this morning. Had some good guests. I hate that we had a little, and we still don't know what happened. We'll check on and see why we lost the signal there for a while. But glad you hung in there with us. Reminder that tonight, catch me on TV with your local sports, and Rodney Orr will join me at 6:30 for Tider Insider TV on WVUA 23. And then tomorrow, Rodney will be here with me because he was not
yesterday, obviously, since we did not have a show on Labor Day. So Rodney Orr will be with me tomorrow. We'll have Matt Coulter on NASCAR. So, it's going to be a fun week here. And with it being a short week, Friday's going to be here before you know it. And Friday, I'll have my SEC point spread predictions. We'll have our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. I'll be live at Innisfree Irish Pub. So a lot going to be going on this week on the Gary Harris Show. All right, real quickly before we close it out, let me say a word about one of our really good sponsors, Houston Hyder Steam and Carpet Cleaning, the best in Tuscaloosa. I'll just say that for the record right now. If you're going to get some serious cleaning done, then that's where you need to go. They do it right. They've been in business for nearly 40 years. And when you're a local business that's been in business for nearly 40 years, that tells you all you need to know. Quality work you can stand on. Find out more at HoustonHyderSteam.com or give them a call, 205-553-9460. Jackie Houston and the folks will give you a free estimate, and they'll let you know whether it's carpet cleaning, grout cleaning in your shower. They can handle it all, man. They can handle it all. All right, that's going to wrap it up. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next at 11 a.m., followed by the Miller's Edge from noon until 2. Fowler will have the game this afternoon from 2 until 6. For Chase Brumfeld, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show.